Todd Boggust was born August 20th, 1964, and grew up in Paynton, Saskatchewan. Like most young cowboys, Todd started out riding steers, throwing a rope, and even riding bareback horses as a teenager. His father, Barry, was a four-time steer wrestling champion in the Canadian Cowboys Association, so it was natural for Todd to follow in his father's footsteps, and it was his father, Barry, who gave Todd some of his early training. With Doug Wilkinson living nearby with an indoor arena to rope and steer wrestle, it wasn't long before Todd's natural athletic talent began to shine. If they weren't roping and dogging, there was plenty of cowboying opportunities on the ranch and nearby PFRA pastures where Barry worked. In the early 80s, Canada was having a resurgence in world-class steer wrestlers. South of Paynton at Amisk, Alberta, a powerhouse steer wrestler, Blaine Peterson, was on his way to a world title along with Mark Roy, another Saskatchewan native. Many a cold winter night, Todd would make the long trek to practice with his idols, learning the ropes from the best. Although Todd was younger than Blaine and Mark, soon after turning professional in 1985, Todd's prowess as a bulldogger was noted among his peers. Besides feeding off the successes of Peterson and Roy, Todd often traveled with Lee Laskowski, another NFR qualifier from Viking, Alberta. In 1987, Todd was the Saskatchewan Circuit Steer Wrestling Champion and made the Canadian Finals Rodeo for the first time. He made the Canadian Finals Rodeo again the following year in 1988, but missed out in 1989. Todd also competed as a team roper, and although he competed at pro rodeos in the event, he chose to focus on steer wrestling in pursuit of his ultimate goal, a world championship. And the 1990s were to be an incredible decade for Todd Boggust. He returned to the Canadian Finals Rodeo in 1990 and 1991. But 1992 would be an extra special year for Todd. He married his teenage sweetheart, Denise Wartel, the night before the 1992 Canadian Finals Rodeo, and went on to win the CFR average in steer wrestling. Todd also qualified for his first National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas and won the round on opening night. He added a second go-round win in round 6 to finish the year 5th in the world standings. Over the next 2 years, Todd would be a regular at both the Canadian and National Finals Rodeos. He would win his first Alberta Circuit Steer Wrestling Championship, the Dodge Pro Tour Steer Wrestling Championship, the Coors Shootout Steer Wrestling Championship, and in 1994, he narrowly missed the Canadian and World Steer Wrestling Championships as well. But 1995 would be an incredible year for Todd. He won major events at the Reno Rodeo, Cheyenne Frontier Days, and the Cody Stampede. He qualified for the National Finals Rodeo for the 4th consecutive year and capped it all off with his first Canadian Steer Wrestling Championship. 1996 was another extra special year for Todd Boggust, as he and Denise were blessed with the arrival of their daughter, Angie, in June. And in July, Todd captured the Calgary Stampede Steer Wrestling Championship and the $50,000 bonus. The remainder of the 1990s saw Todd win the Steer Wrestling Championship on the Brahma Boot and the Skull Inc. Pro Rodeo Tours, his second Alberta Circuit Steer Wrestling Championship, and was the Canadian Pro Rodeo Association Steer Wrestling Season Leader in 1999. That year also saw Todd make his 5th and final trip to the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas, and in 2000, Todd qualified for his 12th and final Canadian Finals Rodeo in Edmonton. While many of the world's best steer wrestlers thought it was only a matter of time before Todd Boggust would strap on the gold buckle as the world champion, in May of 2001, he was diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus and passed away August 3rd that year at just 36 years old. His passing was mourned throughout the rodeo world, and after Todd's passing, his fellow cowboys bestowed upon him rodeo's highest honor by crowning Todd 2001 Cowboy of the Year in the CPRA. Although he was taken much too soon, Todd Boggust will always be remembered as a champion inside and outside the rodeo arena. As a contestant, he won many of rodeo's most coveted championships. As a mentor, Todd was an inspiration to many steer wrestlers as he lent his experience and encouraged young contestants to take a shot at the NFR. As a husband and a father, Todd enjoyed having his wife Denise and daughter Angie traveling with him on the rodeo trail, spending long stretches of quality time together, where Angie could often be found in the saddle sitting in front of her dad while Todd was warming up his bulldogging team. It is with great pride that we induct Todd Boggust into the Canadian Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.